council, pre-council meeting, this is now to go to the let us stand and stand with the Oh God, Father, we thank you for the blessing, we thank you for the community, we thank you for life, and we thank you for being God, and being God all by yourself. Father, we thank you for watching over us as we come to do city business, Father, and we ask that everything be done peacefully and in order. Father, we give us knowledge and wisdom to continue to do that. We don't only you know how. Father, we be careful to give you all the praise, glory, and honor. In Jesus' name we pray.
Council Alexander. Present. Council Collier. Council Tucson. Present. Council Marshall.
Present.
Council Dixon. Present. Council Donald. Present. Council Matthews.
Present.
We have 7 present, 1 absent, we have a quorum. Presentation, announcement, presentation, awards, announcements, and recognition.
Anyone here?
Committee report.
We met and we will come back to the council with recommendations, seeing that they've already gone out. I went and I got one on after they went out. Children were calling, and I was not putting on hospital. And they were talking about the campus. Well, you can't really take a child's word for it. I went down myself and I got one, and they are out. They're here at the City Hall. They're at the high school. Only one application is out. The application for the children are out. The application for the adults is not out. So I would ask again, this council, let us sit down. Let us reason together. Let us get things taken care of with Camp Bessemer before the next year comes in. There haven't been any very minimal changes to Camp Bessemer, but there is some tweaking that needs to be done to Camp Bessemer. So what we'll do, we'll poll each and every one of you and see what date it is. We all can sit down and make some changes to Camp Bessemer. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I don't know why we have a Camp Bessemer committee, because the Camp Bessemer program is under the mayor's purview, his control. He controls it, he runs it. The council doesn't have anything to do with Camp Bessemer.
That is not true. You need to read your ordinance. That's not true. That's totally not true. As a matter of fact, the mayor is supposed, anytime there is an expenditure, the mayor is supposed, the director is supposed to give it to the mayor. The mayor in turn sends a copy to the president. The president gives it to the council, and the council has to approve it.
We have to approve it in the budget, but we do not run the program.
That's why I say there is some tweaking that needs to be done to campus. We can say we need to do it in the budget or however, but it needs to be stated done. There is some tweaking that needs to be done. And we did say that we would, in turn, sit down and reason together and tweak it. We did say that.
We did?
Yes.
I've never said that.
I've never heard that said.
I saw it on I wondered why it was even on our committee list.
Really?
Because it's not a program that we run. We approve the expenditure and the budget, but we do not run or control Camp Bessemer.
And not that we're trying to control campus, but we do have a part in campus. there is a part for the council in campus. Well, let me ask this, but maybe this is a question I need to ask, or I should have asked last week. Did anyone around this table, other than me, hear that we will sit down and tweak campus? Or is it just something I heard?
I did.
No. Before we did the budget, if you all can remember, I asked.
Mr. President.
Hold on, she's still.
Okay.
Mr. President, well, by any chance, do you remember? And Attorney Harris remember?
You say it, you do it. And I don't, you know, I don't even, but the answer question is, you say it in the state. You don't have to go ahead.
Oh,
Yes.
may not. Mr. President, rather than us, spend time on something like this that we can take the planning session, that's what we ought to do. What I'm concerned about tonight is the agenda that has resolutions that this council body has not even discussed. As most of you know, our practice normally has been to discuss items in planning session, and if a majority of the council wishes to have a resolution or an ordinance done, then we ask Attorney Harris or Attorney Payton to do that. But to just simply bring resolutions, drop them last night, and expect to vote on them, that's inappropriate. All of these items should be on planning session Tuesday to discuss. And if we decide that we need a resolution, then these resolutions can be good to go, next meeting. But to put them down tonight, reading is fundamental. I remember when we came into office, we had an ordinance given to us, council members who had been in office and new council members. That ordinance had a clause in there saying that the president would serve for 2 years. But nobody ever discussed it. Nobody, the council didn't discuss it. But I thank God that I learned to read. And I read through it, and I saw the 2 years. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. We haven't discussed this. How can one person take it upon themselves to put in there an ordinance saying 2 years and the council hasn't discussed? The same thing I say about these resolutions. We've had a process that we've used. So why is one or two people taking it upon themselves to have resolutions done and put on the agenda, and we haven't even discussed it? Items are supposed to be in, my understanding, to Ms. Coleman at 4 o'clock on Thursday. Now, if items don't get in by 4 o'clock on Thursday, they really shouldn't go on the agenda unless there are some emergency items that need to be dealt with. But this is totally inappropriate. And I don't care who put them on here, but it's totally inappropriate. Now, is this going to be a council body working together, or is this going to be one person telling the attorney what to do and the attorney doing it without this council body discussing these items? None of these have been discussed. None of these have been discussed. That's all I got to say.
The ones that I have on here has been discussed. They've been asked for back in December. As a matter of fact, this third meeting in December, they were asked for. They were asked for statuses. If anybody around the table can remember. The ones that I put on. I can't speak for anybody else, but the ones that I had put on. And if I can remember correctly, any council person can have a resolution drawn up. If I can remember correctly. Any council person can have a resolution drawn up and put in and have it voted up and forth. Okay? Now, when we say we didn't discuss it, That's all has been discussed. What's on here has always been discussed. I have not put anything new on here, Council Marshall, anything new. Only thing I've asked for is what's on here right now. I've not put anything new on here, nothing that you all don't know anything about. And on last week, if anyone was here can remember, the clock was not set right. So I asked that whatever we had, that we would take it over to the next meeting, if that was all right. Or send it to Rain. Everything that's on here that I have on here has been discussed more than 90 days plus.
Mr. President, let me just
anyone else, you just spoke. Is there anyone else that like speak on this?
Mr. President, I said the same thing. I've been asking for things since I've been elected and have yet to get them. So if it takes for me to write up a resolution and get voted on, then that's what it has to be done by this body.
I was under the impression, like Councilman Marshall, we had so many facilities at the time.
At 4 o'clock is the agenda. It's supposed to be closed. But it's my understanding, and I asked for the tape from last week so I could hear the councilman tape without me hearing what was said on last week. I didn't know what was discussed, but in light of the fact that the things that Council Dawn is talking about, all of them have been discussed at some point. And therefore, I mean, if we vote on it, my vote gonna be the same if we vote on it next year. Whether we would talk to the council on it's not gonna change my vote. But any council member, and matter of fact, the ones that when we get down to them, I will indicate some verbiage that we may have used when these were discussed from various different members around the table.
Mr. President,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Council Marshall, a statement that you made, is it anyone in particular that you don't recall having a discussion on?
Not full discussion. Not full
Is
discussion.
it anyone that you
No.
don't recall any discussion on?
No full discussion. No full discussion. If we're gonna be a renegade organization, let's determine we're gonna be a renegade organization. Our practice for the last 8 years, and Councilman Matthews sits there and he knows it's been this way. And if we start allowing every council person to call the attorney to do a resolution, one reason we thought it wise to discuss stuff in planning, and if a majority agreed for a resolution or ordinance, was to save money. But if everybody's going to be able to do that, then I don't want to hear anybody else talk about expenses. Just don't worry about expenditures and expenses. If Councilor Collier sends in a resolution, I find out about it, and I say I disagree with that. So I call the attorney and say, attorney, do me a resolution opposite of what he's done. I mean, we tried to put that in place so that we could have some controls, but obviously, you know, we don't have the leadership that wants to have control. And you know, and when you look at 8 years of all the progress that we've made in this city, and then all of a sudden, you know, we get to be a renegade organization, and therefore nothing's going to be done. You know, if we all work together, we lift the city. We got residents that we ought to be concerned about. But if we want to be renegades and everybody doing their own thing, then we ain't going to make no progress. We're going to come to a halt in terms of progress. I know you don't want to hear it, but the truth hurts, and what goes around comes around. And when you dig in one ditch, you better dig another. You know, so we need to think seriously about what our responsibilities are as council people, and stop having the mindset is that I'm gonna get the upper hand on somebody, that I'm gonna be in control, or we gonna be in control. We ought to be looking out for the residents of this city. And from where we're going, it doesn't seem that way. You know, again, I ask that items 11, 22, 23, and 24 be placed on the planning session agenda, and 9 for next week, so that we can discuss them, so that we can keep the orderly process that we've had in place. Otherwise, you know, I'll deal with the attorney, and I don't blame him. He's working to make money. So every time an individual calls and wants a resolution, he's glad to do a resolution. He's getting paid. I do them too. I do them for every council person call. Even if I knew, and this is what's disturbing to me, is that the attorney has known what our practice has been. I wish the attorney would be able to say to the council person, well, you know, let's think about this, what our practice has been. And it has worked well. But, you know, I don't know if he's intimidated or whatever, but, you know, he's not acting like the attorney that I've known in the past. Let me just say that. I'm finished.
Thank you. You have something you want?
I was just gonna say the items be put on the planning agenda next week, some of the items.
Now, who's in agreement with them being, on the plan?
I am.
And who's not?
Well, you know your little group is going to say they're not. So, I mean,
It has been stated that we don't, that it's going to stay on the agenda and.
Okay, well, that's fine. That's fine.
I think some of it's planning agenda, some of it's planning session.
What's planning that?
Number 9, VP fund. It's nobody's business how much money is in my account. I can find out how much money I have in my VP funds. Why does anybody need to know who else has money?
I thought when we sit around here voting on VP, it has to be approved by the council.
When we have a project that money needs to be spent on.
Well, it's city money, why can't it be known by, I mean, I don't care about how much money you have. I mean, I don't. I mean,
Well, why are we asking for
You
it?
put it on here.
Why are we asking for all the amounts for each council, each district?
well, you can get your own out, you can get it out. I mean, what's
That's
the
right.
difference?
Why is there a resolution saying that we want it for all council members? We
Oh,
can ask for our own.
you don't want your,
I can ask for mine. I can ask the accounting department how much mine is. And they will tell me.
okay, well, you can tell them, you wish yours is not speaking scholarship.
And same thing with item 24. I mean, everything in that is on the website when it comes to economic development and CDBG.
Well,
that's on the
or
website.
council members that said they wanted on here. and
Go ahead, that's fine. That's the way it works. That's fine.
That's where it
But
was.
you ought to show better leadership for the new people who are on the council.
I didn't do anything. They
No,
asked
no,
for it
no,
to be
no.
on the agenda, and
Yeah.
that's what.
Yeah, but you ought to be guiding them and encouraging them the right way.
I can't tell a council member what the
Council
agenda or
Matthews,
not.
well, you can't tell you, but you know what the proper process is and procedures that we've used that have worked very well in the past. And you should be trying to lead them in that direction that creates more unity and working together.
Well, what's more useful when a council member asks for a particular, whatever item, and I think it was the CDBG, and it drags on and on for weeks and months and weeks and months, and they don't get it. What, I mean,
Go to the website.
I'm not going to the real.
Why do you think it's on the website?
I know what's on the website.
You can get all the information you want.
I know what's on the website.
But you don't act like it.
I'm not even, it's not my thing to ask why you.
I'm finished.
Mr. President,
Yes.
now I think issue, and so I've sitting there listening, I think issue one of those comments, it did not drag on and on, that you was asking stuff for CDBG for 30 days. I asked for 30 days, and in 30 days, that's what it's up to that. So nothing dragged on and stuff from my office, and it was requested. I told this body how long it would take in order for me to do it. It was a 30-day extension that I asked for, and at that particular time, we gave that presentation and stuff to you all. So I need that to be corrected and stuff in a minute.
Well, according to the council member, it drug on, they still hadn't received.
Mr. President, number 24, I placed on. And I asked you last week when he was doing his presentation, I think Mr. Davis was doing his presentation, I asked him if he would give us a copy. Simply because, one, we couldn't see. I couldn't see anything. I let him do that, and I let you all do that. If we could have a copy of what he had. Mr. Davis told me yes. He told me yes, I can have a copy. This wouldn't have been on there had we gotten a hard copy. I don't know anybody who puts a presentation together that does not have a hard copy. What's the problem? We can't see the hard copy. I couldn't see anything up there. Barely could hear anything that he said, and I did let him know that. We couldn't see sitting right here. So we just, the only thing I asked for, Mayor Gully, was a hard copy so I can sit and look at it myself. That is what 24 is.
Mayor, do you have anything on item 5? Item 7, please.
Where's the banking of properties? This tax.
Good evening.
I would like to know what the bank of the park level is on the moment.
One, two, and three. Please. Consent council.
Consent.
Item 7, please.
April 2nd, 2019, we need to report for hearing date.
This is the item. With council approval, I would set the hearing date as the first Tuesday in May, which is May the 7th at 7 p.m.
May 7th.
May 7th.
No, we will be, Mobile,
Yeah.
May 7th, and we,
About May 21st.
May what?
21st is the Thursday.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Council.
What time?
And 10 a.m. Oh, I didn't do it.
10 a.m. will be okay.
10 a.m. May 21st. 8 a.m.
Consent.
Consent calendar.
Consent. Yes.
Item 9, Ms. Taylor.
Item 9, resolution requesting a report from the finance department of the unexpended balance in VP capital improvement fund for each council district.
Mr. President, is there a document in there? I don't have one in my package. Is there a written resolution?
No, because it gets dropped the night before meetings. I hand that out after meeting. They can drop it on there.
We'll come back to that one. Item 10.
Request to direct sign at Southside Community Park.
Mr. President, I see that they have started to erect the sign at Southside Park. And we'll table that to see whether or not it's going to be done.
What's the issue, if you don't mind?
I said that they already started, they put the 404s down, and I asked that it be tabled until after this.
I thought we already had a resolution and stuff to that effect.
Well, we were supposed to have, Mayor, but it never did materialize. We're just now getting something done with that sign and Southside Park. And I say just, I mean, in the last year.
Well, I didn't know until that, I was on a time frame and stuff from you all to get one and stuff done. And you, by your own admission, you driven around 3 or 4 years with incorrections of sign. So, we have every intention, we know what the resolution says, we have every intention of putting the sign up.
We understand. It wasn't by my admission, it was by someone else's admission. I never said anything about that sign being the way the sign was. But yes, sir, we understand. We're just waiting to see that new sign so we can put our bones on the sign and go ahead and get it.
So you said you like to
Table that until after we start.
Table.
Item 11.
Resolution requesting the mayor to provide to the city council with a fiscal year-to-date financial report of the city's revenues and expenditures pursuant to section 11-43-84.
This was the vote upstairs as well.
Okay.
Voting delegate form.
I'm sorry, is there a resolution on the other one for the fiscal year to date financial report? Okay.
Sign that.
Yeah, I thought I saw it.
And you don't have this?
Yeah,
Yes.
I see it.
I was just confused when we were looking at April and May.
April and May.
Yeah, April and May. There's like 6 weeks that they've asked for updates. That's what I'm seeing. Financial reports, someone's asked for it. March 31st, 2019 through March 31st. Okay. Okay. I just saw the 2 dates. Okay.
You clear on that?
Got it.
Okay, thank you. Item 12. The voting delegate form.
This is for Mobile.
Yeah. Anyone desires to be a voting delegate? Anyone else? I need an alternate. First alternate and second.
Who's the first option?
One. Second alternate. Okay, we just have those two. Voting delegate is first alternate. Is that consent?
Consent.
Item 13.
Item 13, restaurants to sell liquor license at Chinos Chuco, located at 4005 Bessemer Superhighway.
Yeah, it is. Oh, the car line.
Yeah.
They fix on cars.
Is that the car lot across the street from EJ's Lounge?
That's a restaurant.
Yeah, that's a restaurant.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
Chief Roper. So it's gonna serve as a car lot and a restaurant?
Everything you would call that, we just, that's just the license part.
Yes, sir.
They passed everything. We had no reason to deny.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, does it still serve as a car lot as well?
I know cars are out there.
Okay.
I'm not familiar
Yes, sir.
whether they're working on cars or whether they're selling cars.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Special events retail type, 140, license for five sites, barbecue, and blues festival located at 1622 Second Avenue.
You also discuss the food service.
That consent?
Consent.
Yes.
Type 010, lounge retail liquor license class 1 by Kennedy located at 2123 Fifth Avenue North.
Is it on your plan? I,
2123,
yeah,
what you have from,
I have.
to,
She's.
come to the code.
On the last week, I called Ms. Watson, the building department, because I seen some building was going on there. I didn't see a
Just,
building permit.
they started on the sidewalk, that's the signs, patio area.
Yeah, and I asked, I called, I said, do you have a building permit for 2123? And she Googled it and she said, no. I said, well, can you send someone out?
Yeah, that was my husband, I had him call and everything.
So can we just gonna table this until y'all get the, is it okay? You know?
I mean, we could just stop the patio, everything else has been approved, I've had the agency board, everything has been done, the police, everything is in place, I'm just waiting on the final vote.
So you just have to get the permit to finish up the work.
Well, it doesn't mean, it can stop, I don't have to have a patio, that just was planning to be a part of it, so it's ready to rock and roll, it just needs to go through.
Alcohol, beer, and wine, it's totally different from the building department.
I understand it.
But if it's been approved, that's not a reason for them not to go forward. I don't see it being a problem. But from a building standpoint, you're gonna have to get with the building, and this is the first time I've heard this, you're gonna have to get with the building department and see your plans and all. So you okay with
Yeah, I just wanted her to get the, you know, the building permit and stuff, so she could be doing it the right way.
That's the same. I appreciate
Resolution approving the use of the multi-purpose room on Thursday, April 4th, 2019 for the JCBC meeting.
JCDC, the consent council.
A resolution approving BCHS use of the Barclay Park for senior class picnic on Friday, May 17th, 2019.
In the same county,
Yes.
is there a park available? Is the park is available?
No license, no license to check and go. Everybody taking some part of the record, make sure.
I'm not aware of this. I can't see this tonight.
We'll put the item on there, they can check the public law.
We had, I thought it was adequate. I guess if it's available, we can, let them use, if it's available. Approve it, and take, upon it being available.
Yeah.
And we can sanction.
Yes.
Go back to one, 123.
That's the before we start signing.
All right, now we're on. Okay, item 17, continue. Item 18.
Item 18, the Bessemer Alabama Foundation Board requests to change the date for the use of the Bessemer Civic Center from April 26, 2019, and per the Civic Center Director, Mr. Dawson, the date should be September 13, 2019. September 13, 2019, for that annual gala.
Change the date to the 13th. Being that that's the state, it is available.
Yes.
Let consent council.
Consent.
Resolution authorizing payment of $38,790.35 to the company for January 2019 invoice.
Councilman, you don't have any questions?
Consent.
Oh, I have one question. Right there on 4th Avenue, near the post office, isn't that a part of that? 4th Avenue.
Oh, at the radius going in there by the post office?
No, all that cracking up of that new asphalt there, near the post office. Sir,
I hadn't noticed. Is it right in front of the post office?
I was moving pretty brisk, and I saw it. I just saw it, you know. I just saw it one day, and when I saw it on the junction. And the other thing is, the turnout lane there, Cedar Creek, what's the hold up on that? That's part of that too. Sir?
Yeah, it's bonded. It's bonded, so the contractor eventually will have to, I don't know when. I can make a request to find out. I know the plan has been approved and submitted. But when he start, I don't know. I can find it out.
Yeah, well, I guess what I saw was on the 4th Avenue that it had been inspected. I wasn't doing any inspecting. I just was riding and I just happened to see the cracks there in the asphalt. It looked like, I mean, that as new as it is, it should be that for interior.
I have to see exactly what you're talking about. I hadn't seen anything on 4th Avenue. Say it's right there by the post office.
Proximity, I was at the light by the time
Okay. So we look at it. They still got to do a radius improvement. That had not been completed from the A-Trips project. The latest improvement there right past the post office, going to be on the 12th, or 13th. Right across from the bus barn. They hadn't completed that yet, but it's on the punch list. We've got several punch list items they hadn't finished. They had to move the water line and put the guardrail up on down 4th Avenue. We got the attenuator put in there by Center Street, so that's been completed. So they've got the punch list item to complete, and they've got the radius to do on 13th Street and 4th Avenue. They're right past the post office. And that was A-Trip's project will be completed.
Mr. President, this has nothing to do with ask this question while Mr. Gilbert is standing. Sidewalks, where are we?
That's been approved to go to construction. So AlDOT, the construction division, is reviewing that now. We expect it to be out this summer. When I get a date when it's going to be bid, that'll be bid through the state of Alabama. So,
When you get a date, you're going to get it to us.
okay, but right-of-way's been approved, it's going to construction, and so they'll set a letting date very soon.
I've been waiting on this for a while.
We're gonna ask a question, if you don't mind, while he's still standing there. I'm not really certain, given your newly elected, as far as with Dartmouth Avenue, do you know whether it's included? I have this young man doesn't live in my district. I think he lives in District 3 up in the housing development. He's in the motor chair going up and down Dartmouth Avenue. Several times I've seen him almost overturned. There was a tree stump under several of the sidewalk sections on Dartmouth Avenue. So I'm not certain as far as what the list that has been turned in before my time. Is it any way I can get with you to see as far as with District 7, what's on the list when those funds become available, or what's the steps as far as in getting
Talking about ADA and accessibility. Well, when we do a project, we update the sidewalks. If there's federal funds involved, that's a requirement, and that's been done on Dartmouth. Other areas off of the main streets that someone that is handicapped, there's a form they can fill out that Tom Harmon has that we can adjust the list if there's a need. We've done that several times, but there's a process that they can go through to bring it to the city's attention. But when the ADA laws were passed, it was on the older cities, it was a pretty big burden. And so the cities have just been doing the work as they can and appropriating money to do those things. And the city has done a lot, but there's still more to be done.
Yeah, we were fortunate with the gas company coming out and running it kind of saved us on some of the site where we replaced some of the places that really needed to be replaced after the repairs. But I know there are two different places where I've actually witnessed this young man almost overturning in his chair, where he actually has to go out in the middle of the street to evade these two spots.
If he's got a route that he runs, if he can get the paperwork and fill it out for us, so we can take a look at that. And I know that the street department they got a crew that works on sidewalks all the time.
Okay.
And we work with Lawrence and Bill to make sure that when they redo a sidewalk, it's ADA compliant.
Yes, sir.
And that would help us.
Yeah, I know with one of them, the tree stumps would have to be, tree roots would have to be cut from underneath that, because that has
sidewalk.
It's what really created the problem on one of the locations that I know.
Yeah, I know Lawrence has got a crew that works every day on replace the sidewalk.
I'll get that paperwork so I can, the next time I see him, I'll stop him and.
That's it. Right on 26th Street. We have that.
Well, you have two then, this other one with the dreads.
On top of the hill.
Yeah, I know.
And you have another one that's right there.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good, Mark, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, one.
Resolution authorizing the payment of invoices for Jackson Harris PC for the month of January 2019 in the amount of $5,912. payment of invoices for checks and payment receipts for the month of March 2019 in the amount of $6,595.
Consent.
Item 22.
Resolution requesting the mayor to closely monitor and exercise stricter adherence to the reporting requirements of section 82-47 of the Bessemer Code of Ordinances relating to county Bessemer.
Mr. President, I have that placed on because we did not, as I stated on last week, that we would have a meeting and get back with the mayor when I said the Camp Bessemer committee, but we didn't have the opportunity to do that before the applications came out. So what the committee did when they met, it is asked that we adhere to the ordinance that's already in place. What we ask that you look closely at the ordinance that's in place, and we ask that this body once again get together and tweak Camp Bessemer as we said we would do the year before.
Consent.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I'll say again, it's not our place. We can ask him to adhere to the resolution, but tweaking it is not our place. It's an ordinance, we pass the ordinance, and the mayor follows through. This hasn't been done, which I understand, it hasn't been done as strict as this, but it's not our business to tell him how to run Camp Bessemer.
Well, this is not telling him how to run Camp Bessemer. All of this is already in place. We're just asking the mayor, Councilor, if you'll just allow me to speak. We're just asking the mayor to adhere to what's already in place. Nothing that we put in place. The committee didn't ask for anything other than to have the mayor look at it and to look at it and adhere to what's in place already. That's
So what
all.
are we talking about tweaking
Go
it?
ahead, Councilman Marshall. I think the mayor was about to say something.
I'm sorry.
I guess my own issue with the language and stuff here, that, you know, I've been in and around and stuff here on and stuff time, and I know that you have to, and but now, yes, I've always adhered and stuff to the ordinance concerning Camp Bessemer. Now, I always have been strict when it has come to the ordinances surrounding the sub-Camp Bessemer. Camp Bessemer has run better than I've ever seen it run, and so since its inception. And I was there when it started. So now, you know, while you're tipping around, if it's something and stuff that you won't hear or have a request and stuff of me, then just let's lay it out on the table and let's just discuss it. Because now, last year, when you all and stuff came and stuff to me, yes, we added districts and stuff on to the application. We have X amount of students, I think it was 11, and so that they got by, and so we discussed that and we closed that gap. We quickly closed that gap. Individuals that were dissatisfied came into the council meeting and expressed their disappointment. Nobody had a problem giving that back to the mayor at that particular time because my memory served me right, and so I stood alone and so when those individuals came. So when you say stricter or when you say adhere, then maybe you just need to be clear to me as to what you're asking and stuff for, and we'll make sure that and so that we run Camp Bessemer the way that we've always and stuff ran it, and make sure that it's done and stuff appropriately, because what this leads to believe that there has been something done wrong in something in Camp Bessemer, and that's not the case. I don't accept it.
Well, Mayor Belton, what the committee came up with, it has nothing to do with whether or not something has been done wrong. As I stated, everything that we're asking is already in the ordinance. We're just asking that it be adhered to. That's all that this committee asks.
Well, then what's the purpose of a resolution if the ordinance, I can continue to go by the ordinance of the city of Bessemer and do that?
Absolutely, you can continue to go by the city of ordinance if we're going by the ordinance, but we're not, Mayor. There are some things in the ordinance, Mayor, you know and I know, that we're not going by. We just ask that you look at it and you go by it. We have no problem funding Camp Bessemer, because I don't have a problem funding. We have no problem with Camp Bessemer except with the ordinance. And even when I first came home, you vetoed me, Mayor Gully, but it's fine. I've been fighting this fight right here, Mayor Gully, this fight with Camp Bessemer since I was elected. And the only thing I've ever asked is that the policies and procedures and those the council does have. Now, if you didn't want us in this Camp Bessemer, the ordinance, we shouldn't have even done an ordinance. Now, Council Thigpen said we have nothing to do with Camp Bessemer. That's not what the ordinance says. That's not what the ordinance says at all. Now, I think what I think happened is that there was some incomplete information got out. Because if anybody around this table can notice, the Camp Bessemer committee never made a report of anything back to this council. The reason we did is because we had to hear from the director, because the person that she sent in her stead could not answer the questions that we had. So we said that we would wait on that person, Mayor Gully. You can look at the ceiling, but I'm like,
No, ma'am,
wait
you're not.
on that.
According to you, you are. But, no, ma'am, that's
And
incorrect.
yes, sir, we requested that person. We requested that person, and when the secretary came back, she stated that she couldn't come, that she could be here on the day that she was here.
Mr. President.
Mr. President.
So that's all that we're asking.
First and foremost, the ordinance predates me. I didn't put an ordinance together. I'm operating off of an ordinance from a predecessor. So I did not as a right of ordinance. That's number one. Number two, I've never exercised to date a veto on anything. And so I've not vetoed, go back and look at the records, I've not vetoed this council body on anything as of yet. And so you know, and when, and look, let's lay it out on the table. The reason Dr. George and so has to send someone else in her stead, which at that particular time, nobody had no questions from her representative at that particular time concerning a problem and stuff with Camp Bessemer, because if it were, we would have handled that at that particular time and got back and stuff with it. But the reason of it is because this members of this body at that particular time and reached out and stuff to her employer and stuff to make sure that she wasn't available to come during and stuff operating and stuff time during the day. And so that's what happened and stuff too, and stuff the meeting. So it had to be a night meeting or after hours and stuff meeting. But no, ma'am, I'm not vetoed and stuff any and stuff ordinance and stuff dealing and stuff with Camp Bessemer or any other issue with the city of Bessemer. As I say, up to this particular point. And the ordinance predates me. I'm operating off an ordinance that was put in place. And Greg and stuff may have more knowledge about that and stuff than I do when that ordinance was put and stuff in place. Back in 2007, 2008. I didn't get here to 10.
Council Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess what gets me is, well, why do we beat around the bush on some of these things? Like, what is it you want? I mean, the mayor says he's adhering to the ordinance. So if you've got an underlying issue, say what it is.
I think the mayor has already stated that, and the mayor is qualified to talk for himself.
But you still
And I've
have,
already let the mayor know what it is. that
Councilmember,
the
Mr. Mayor.
committee wanted, not Cynthia Donald, the committee, not Cynthia Donald.
but the committee still has not explicitly said what they want. Same thing with the expenditures and income. I recognize that there's a code that says the mayor provides that. But you know, it's like people are trying to hide behind resolutions rather than being adults and asking what it is you're really looking for.
Is there any more conversation concerning the camp session item 20?
Mr. President, I will say, again, I didn't say we don't have anything to do with it. We appropriate the funds, but we do not have anything to do with running the program.
I don't think I said anything about, the committee said anything about running the program. They never said anything about running the program or micromanaging Mayor Gully with the program.
Well, what are we going to tweak? What is there to tweak? Why is the committee going to get together and tweak it?
It wasn't the committee before. I don't know whether you remember, if anybody remember, because nobody seems to remember anything. We said that we'll sit around this table and we would tweak Camp Bessemer. Nothing was said at that time. The things that I see, I think the committee as well sees, that one, Ms. George said she didn't think she had to even talk to the council or send any paperwork anything to the council. What it says is this, that she gets with Mayor Gully on any expenditure, and that's what it says. Those are the things I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about, Councilor Dickey. It has nothing to do with the running of Camp Bessemer. That is what I'm talking about.
It's no different than any other department head. We go through the mayor if we want information from a department head. Camp Bessemer is no different than any other program that we have running. So we don't tweak it. We don't ask for it. We ask the mayor for it, and he provides it.
And the meeting was going to be with the mayor, and we all come back together with it.
But we don't meet with Dr. George.
We did not
This
meet with
council
Dr.
doesn't meet with Dr. George
We
or
didn't
ask
meet with
her
Dr.
for
George.
information.
We did not meet with Dr. Jordan. She gave us the information herself on yesterday. I'm sorry, at the last meeting.
Right.
Right,
At
she
our
gave us that
planning
information.
session.
Now, I heard, yes, planning session. I heard the mayor say that we were not waiting on Dr. George to come because the person that was standing instead for her could not answer. Does anybody remember, she stated that she could not answer the questions and she would have Dr. George to come back. Well, we never heard back from Dr. George, only when I got with the mayor's office to see when Dr. George could come and give us information, and then we could make a sound decision and come back to the council. That is why we did not make a recommendation. I said the committee did not make a recommendation.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
Dr. George came because the ordinance states, and so that is a pre-meeting, and so that is given to the city council before Camp Bessemer and so starts. And there is a final meeting after the program and such is over. Now that's in the ordinance of the city of Bessemer. It had nothing to do with what anybody around this table said. What we were doing is what the ordinance said. And so to say and stuff that Dr. George was told not to talk and stuff to the council, that's not true. Because when we're coming and we're having Dr. George come, we're doing the pre-meeting that's required by the ordinance, that the ordinance states that is something that we do at the beginning of a program. And look, we're going to abide by the ordinance of the city of Bessemer. But some of us have been here 8 years, and some of us have been here 4. And I take issue with the fact that why is it such a big problem with Camp Bessemer until all of a sudden. We talking about an 8-week program and stuff here. And so that if there is an issue, you know, tell me what your issue and stuff is. If it's in the confines of the ordinance of the city of Bessemer, you'll do what stuff is necessary. And so, but I will not operate outside the scope and stuff for nothing.
Well, Mr. President, I don't ask you to operate outside.
Well, sure you do. You just told me, that one person from every household in the last meeting. You don't get to tell them something how to operate and
Mayor
stuff
Gully,
like that.
if you notice, I didn't say that. Dr. George said that. And I came in and tell her how that paid. I didn't say that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
But that was discussed. And I can tell you that it was discussed, but we never got the opportunity to bring it back to the table. That's why I started my meeting off when it said committee, that saying there was some information that got back to whomever that was not complete. That's why we did. And Mayor Belly, yes, we did request that Dr. George come, and we were told that she could not come. To go ahead and give us what we needed so that we could give this body what we needed. But we'll go on.
Mr. President, the reason that Dr. George did not come when she was requested, because she was requested by the same way. This is my third agenda in the last 48 hours. I cannot make a person come to a meeting that's out of town, that's not available. If I just got that request on a Friday or a Monday for a meeting and stuff on Tuesday. So until we can learn how to respect the positions and make the necessary requests, then I don't know how to tell an individual to be at a meeting if I just got the request on a Friday and stuff or on a Monday.
I just want to be voted on. Let's see if we can curb with the 23, item 23.
Resolution requesting the mayor to provide bank statements from the City of Bessemer Economic Development Department, CDBG operating program for conflict elimination.
Mr. President, that was 23 and 24 was one and the same. As I stated, the presentation that was given on the 19th, we could not see that presentation. I think I let Mr. Forrest Davis know that we could not see that presentation, and would he give us a hard copy of that presentation? 23 and 24 goes together.
So they might be voted on separately.
No, sir, 23 and 24 goes together. Because you see why he already has the presentation, it goes together.
So you want to delete 24? Or let it be all in one?
All in one.
Well, item 23 and 24 will be just 23. Vote in favor. All right. Can item 25 be taken into play? Yeah. Let's do 25, it'll be 24.
Together.
Yeah, so 26, 25, 27, I mean 27 go through 26. You already said?
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. President, I discussed the matter with Mr. Harris on Thursday of last week and then again on Monday. this week regarding the Hueytown tank renovation bid, and talking
But I
about
was looking
that.
at 7:15, and it's gonna take long, you wanna do it, go ahead and, you go.
Well, one, we need to talk to you in executive session because I believe it's a matter that may lead to potential or threatened litigation. And then a decision needs to be made on the bid award that came in on that matter tonight, whether to reject or accept it. I discussed that on Greg with Mr. Harris on Thursday about that. I thought it would be better to talk to the council about it before it was placed on the agenda. And he said he would speak with you about that matter. So that needs to be dealt with whenever, but before you close out your agenda at some point, that needs to be brought out. But I do need to discuss that with you in executive session.
Will the vote be taken this way?
Yes.
Okay, well, can we just go upstairs and take care of what we've already went over and then gone over, and then do a executive session upstairs?
Yes, as long as we process the meeting without the.
Sounds good.